This next lecture is very short, it's very simple, but I think if you can grasp what I'm talking about here, I think it'll really help you. Let's start with this quote. Christianity got turned into a religion somehow. That is, something we do and or believe to appease our deity in order to get a happy afterlife or make our crops grow, rather than a way of life that fosters maturity and wholeness and that teaches us to look for and join whatever God is doing beyond the boundaries of our vain religiosity. That's one of the big adaptive challenges that has been with us for centuries, is that Christianity, this way of life of following Jesus, that would foster maturity and wholeness and make us a much better people than we would on our own, it somehow got turned into this religion. And I think that's one of the reasons why, especially here in America, Christianity and churches are really struggling. Leading a church is often a struggle. Okay, can we just admit that? And I think it makes a difference if we kind of decide, are we actually leading God's people who are in exile? This is a picture of Japanese Americans after the attack on Pearl Harbor in World War II that were ripped from their homes on the West Coast and sent to these tar paper shack concentration camps. So you can imagine if you were a pastor of these people in these camps, and I know some of them were my mentors, you're really pastoring a people who are in exile. They've been sent away, but they're longing to go back to their homes and to the lives that they had before. So I think a similar question can be asked today. Are we pastoring people with this mindset, this point of view, that these are God's people in exile? Or, on the other hand, are they God's people on Exodus? So instead of trying to go to the way things were, you're helping to lead people with God's help to a place that none of you have ever been before, but you believe that God has called you to go there. And I couldn't help but post this picture of a new naturalized Asian American citizen of these United States. I love the look in his eyes. I mean, basically he's saying, yeah, I came from a place, I'm not going back there. I came to America for a new life and new chances, new opportunities, not just for myself, but for my loved ones. And that's certainly the mindset of someone on Exodus. So as a pastor and as a leader, our point of view, or POV, really determines the direction that we will be leading God's people. So I guess the question here is, which bus has Christ called you to drive? The exile bus or the Exodus bus? I think it really makes a difference. And a lot of times, even if people don't use this Old Testament language, vocabulary, you can surface it, and it's very familiar terminology, and you can have some really robust discussions, again, creating that reflective space where people can evaluate values, attitudes, behaviors, and habits that have brought us here. But if we're a church, in exile, then there's no need for us to change any of those. We're just waiting for the day where we can go back, versus a church and a people on Exodus. We can't travel carrying everything that we've always had with us. Which things have to be left behind? We're grateful for them, but they have to be left behind. And if you're the pastor or the leader, are you called to maintain or at least improve the status quo, but certainly not address the missional or adaptive challenges? Because if that's the case, if that's the kind of bus, the exile bus that you're actually driving, I got news for you. As Quinn would say, you're now in a slow death spiral, you and the church, the ministry. On the other hand, even though it's got its own challenges, are you called to lead God's people to a new, relevant, missional place? Because this involves deep change. It's deep change that brings about personal and organizational transformation. It's what gives energy and clarity. So not easy. If you follow the story of the Israelites in Exodus, it took them a long time and a lot of problems along the way. But they were going to the promised land. They were going to this place they'd never been before, but they believed it was better than where they were. And most importantly, that it was the place that God had called them to go to. So I would offer to you that you contemplate, maybe even if you're currently involved in a ministry or setting, to have that simple conversation that could have some profound consequences. Are we the exile bus or the Exodus bus? Because the point of view that we adopt can make a huge difference in how we read Scripture, in how we deal with the missional and adaptive challenges around us, and even freeing us up to know what to take with us and what to leave behind.